My sister has the mind of an 8-year-old, but my mother allowed her to keep and raise her baby because it is my mother's only chance to have a grandchild. Am I the a-hole for yelling at her? I have an older sister, Sarah, who has Down syndrome. Her mental age is around 8 years old, and she lives with our mom. She is the kindest person I know, and I love her so much. It's still an ongoing legal case, so please understand I can't reveal any details, but something horrible happened almost 3 months ago. A man who we all trusted drugged Sarah and roped her. He even tucked her back into bed. She doesn't remember much, just that when she woke up, she felt sore, and there was some blood on her sheets. Mom was very worried and took her to the ER where they found his DNA. He was arrested, and currently, we're still in the process of sending him to prison for as long as possible. I despise him for doing this to her. I guess the one small blessing is that Sarah only has a vague memory of the actual assault since she was so out of it. Of course, she's still very traumatized, and we've had her in intensive therapy. I go to college in a few states, so it took me a little while to find a flight back to my hometown. I've decided to take a few months off from school to support Sarah's recovery. I'm happy to do so, and I know she appreciates it. I've been by her side the whole time, and I haven't seen Mom too often. She's very busy working extra shifts and everything to support us, not to mention some legal and medical bills that we've gotten stuck with. Plus, she's the one who's been filing all the paperwork and everything. I offered to get a job or do some paperwork to help her out, but she said she wanted my only focus to be by Sarah's side. A few days ago, I was shocked when she sat Sarah and me down to say that Sarah was pregnant. We were stunned, and Sarah began to cry. I wish Mom had talked with me so we could reveal the news as gently as possible. To my shock, Mom said that the baby is a blessing in disguise and that Sarah would make a fantastic mother. Sarah began to hyperventilate, so the conversation ended quickly. After I could call her and get her to sleep, I confronted Mom. She confessed that she had known Sarah had been pregnant for 2 weeks. They took a test in the hospital a little while ago when I was out for a day. Mom noticed some early pregnancy symptoms. I have no idea why the hospital staff didn't inform Sarah herself. I'm planning to investigate why they didn't even give her the morning after pill or anything because what the hell? I'm seriously considering filing a lawsuit because the way the hospital handled this doesn't feel right at all. I got upset and said a baby is the last thing Sarah needs. Mom wouldn't listen and just said we should listen to Sarah. We went back and forth until I gave up and said we'd talk in the morning. The next morning, Sarah said she wanted to raise the baby herself after her mom had gone to work. I asked if she was sure. She confessed that Mom had entered her room the previous night after I fell asleep. She talked to her for a long time about how nothing is more healing than a mother's love and that babies are an adorable blessing. She also said that Sarah will be a fantastic mom and that she would help her the entire time. Also, anyone who says otherwise is mocking her and saying she could never be a good mother. She said when Sarah holds her child, any doubts will wash away. Sarah seemed very nervous, but said how Mom describes motherhood seems wonderful. I had no idea what to say. I tried to show my concern gently, but she got mad and said she's not a baby anymore. It's cruel how I don't believe in her. I reassured her that I believed in her endlessly and loved her so much. That calmed her down, and we went about our day. Later, when Mom came home, we got into a big argument. I demanded to know what she was thinking by doing this. It was jaw-dropping when she immediately confessed that this baby was her only chance at having a grandchild. I'm lesbian, and Sarah will need to live with Mom for the rest of her life. She went on to ramble about how she'd help Sarah with everything and was sure Sarah would love and bond with her child. The grandchild thing pissed me off, and I raised my voice. Sarah has the mind of a child and doesn't truly understand the situation. Pregnancy would be really hard on her physically. Even if she did give birth, this is not a good place for a baby to raise. Mom yelled back before I snapped and screamed how Sarah was in no way capable of caring for this child even with her own support. I was shocked when Sarah came out of the hallway. She wanted some water and overheard everything. She sobbed and said she could do this even without her support. She was angry at me for coddling her as well. She ran up the stairs, and Mom followed. I feel like Sarah isn't thinking clearly because Mom pressured her into having and keeping this child. I love Sarah and regret hurting her. Am I the a-hole? Edit. The only thing I'm sure of is that I want to advocate for the best life possible for Sarah. The hospital was Catholic. So now that I think about it, I think it's likely that they didn't give her the morning after pill because of their beliefs. I'm not sure about the law around religious hospitals, so I don't really know if that's legal or not. Here's the update. A few weeks ago, Sarah had a miscarriage. It was early on in the pregnancy, and while it was a devastating experience, part of me is relieved that she won't have to endure the physical toll of carrying a pregnancy to term. When it happened, Sarah was understandably distraught and confused. We were at home when she started experiencing cramping and bleeding, so we rushed her to the ER. The doctors confirmed it was a miscarriage. As for my mom, I think the miscarriage was a wake-up call for her. She finally came to her senses and apologized to me and, more importantly, Sarah. She admitted that she had let her own desires cloud her judgment and that she had put unfair pressure on Sarah. It was honestly the most heartfelt apology I've ever heard from her. She promised to focus entirely on Sarah's recovery and well-being. I believe she's trying her best. She's been much more supportive and has even started going to therapy herself to address her own issues. The case against the man who did this to Sarah is still ongoing, but there's been some progress. He remains in custody, and the evidence against him is overwhelming. Our family has been in constant contact with the legal team, and we're determined to see this through to the end. I can't share too many details, but I'm hopeful that justice will be served and he will be held accountable for his monstrous actions. Right now, my focus is entirely on Sarah. She's still healing, but her strength amazes me every day. She's the kindest soul I know and deserves so much better than what life has thrown at her. We're taking things one day at a time, and I'm doing everything I can to ensure she feels loved, safe, and supported.